did a fine job. In fact, speaking of Colleen, I've got one little, everybody's got a Kylie story. Everybody knows Kylie. But years ago, Colleen played golf at Northwestern University. Just a tremendous player. The best woman player in the city of Cleveland for a long time. And so she was playing in the city championship, and it happened to be on the west side of town at Avon Oaks. My wife and I live on the west side, and so Mike said, well, she's going to be playing at Avon Oaks. Can she stay at your house? And I said, sure. I'll come over to Canterbury and pick her up and take her to our house. So, you know, on the way out of the drive, he said, now, Bob, I want you to work on your wedge game a little bit, and let's take her out and putt a little bit. And Colleen, do you remember what we did that night? We went to a little tavern in Westlake and had a cheeseburger and a Coke, and the next day, I think she had to play 36 holes. I think she made about 9 birdies and closed out her opponent about 9 and 8, something like that. So Colleen was a great player herself. I hope we all have a great friend in our life like Brian Duffin. Duff, I really appreciate that introduction. We've been friends for 50 years. I was the best man in the wedding of Jill and Brian Duffin 43 years ago. 42 years ago? No, wait a minute. 42 years ago. Okay, well anyway, your anniversary's coming up in a couple of days. Happy anniversary. But I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Cindy, who I love very much, and our beautiful one and only daughter, Jenna, who's headed to Rollins College here in another couple of weeks. So, the two most important people in my life. I've had some other influential people in my life as well. My mom and dad, of course. My dad taught me the game. My mother drove me from here and there, like all of us did that played junior golf. She was my biggest supporter. But there was a guy, I headed to junior college down at Miami-Dade in Florida. Coincidentally, Craig followed me by a few years, picked up some of the ashes along the way after I was there. But I played with Bruce Fleischer, and we won the National Junior College Championship the one year that Bruce and I played together. And the reason that's important to me is he was killing us. He was beating us by 6, 7, 8, 10 shots in a 36 or 54 hole tournament. And he made coming to work, or the thought of me being a golf professional, instead of maybe that offer to come back and work for my father, it made it a pretty easy decision. That Chevrolet business didn't sound too bad after Fleischer took care of me. There was a guy at Canterbury by the name of Bob Watts. That wouldn't mean anything to many people. Maybe Greg Shelton and myself are the only two, and Kylie. The reason that was important to me is he actually recruited me to come to Canterbury Golf Club, and that was just a real turning point in my golfing career. That led me to meet Duff Lawrence, the pro at Canterbury at the time, who was just a tremendous person. I actually spent 3 or 4 days with Duff last week. He's now 78 years old. Just a tremendous person, and he had started a tournament, an interclub tournament at Canterbury. He used to work at Scioto. He worked for Walker Inman at Scioto. He'd gone to New Orleans, and then he came to Canterbury. But he started a tournament called Cozy, Canterbury, Oakmont, Scioto, and Youngstown Country Club. I guess the reason that's important is I had never played Oakmont before. I had never played Scioto before. It just took my game to an entirely different level. And Duff was the kind of professional that could pick up the phone. Oh, you're going to be in Florida? Oh, would you like to play Seminole? No problem. You know, you're going to be in New York. Do you want to play Winged Foot? Do you want to play Shinnecock? You know, I can make that happen. So it really, that's a 2-minute warning for my speech. I'll get on to the next page. What I want to say is the importance of what I call this lifelong golfing fraternity. It's just so very important to me. You know, besides my family, the golfing fraternity, the great game of golf, the impact it's had on my life, there's no way to measure it. No way to measure it. I don't know I just can't even think. I don't want to, we don't get do-overs, but boy, what a great run it's been because of golf. And that's why we're all here, and I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's just been a wonderful run. I can't possibly mention all the people in that fraternity. Duff's right, I run into people all over the country, and it's just been most of those acquaintances are through golf. My wife and daughter and I hold our friends at a very, very high level, and you're very important to us, and I'm just so happy and content with my life, and it's just mostly because of the great friends I've made through this wonderful game. I told you to number these pages in case you drop them. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge, is Pip Ogilvie in the room? Is Pip here? Pip, I ran into you about, I've been wanting to say this publicly for quite a while. I ran into you, I happened to be lucky enough to win the Ohio Amateur. And I mean lucky enough. A few of you were there. But Pip's son, Joe Ogilvie, who was playing at Duke University at the time and had a very successful PGA career, just retired this last year. But Pip ran into me one time at Firestone. If you've ever been to Firestone, there's all kinds of outside events. This happened to be an American Cancer Society event, and there must have been 100 golf carts all staged, ready to go. And I see this guy looking at my clubs and looking at my name tag, and he said, "Are you Fairchild?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, your name is mud in our house." and I said, "Well, your name must be Ogilvie." Because I actually played a pretty good Ohio Amateur at Canterbury that year for 71 holes. Unfortunately, the tournament went for 73 holes. I guess unfortunately for Joe, because I double bogeyed the 72nd hole to go into a playoff with 20-year-old Joe Ogilvie, and Joe stood up and striped it right down the middle of the fairway on the first hole, and I flagged it out to the right in the trees, and I tried to play some kind of miraculous shot through the trees, and it caught a limb, and it kicked it over to the right, and I was in this grove of trees, and he plays his second shot right in the middle of the green. So there I am in 2 over in the trees, and there he is on the green in 2, and I'm the 1993 Ohio Amateur champion. That's all I have to say. We've been here a long time. It's been a pleasure listening to all the great stories. I'm particularly proud to be inducted with my great friend Mike Kiley. I congratulate all the other honorees. Kyles, you've been a great friend. I mean, not an employee, just a great friend. And I have tremendous respect for you. I'm very humbled and proud to be in the Ohio Golf Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.